In this video, we're going to be taking a look at solving problems with proportions, and you'll need to turn your Go Math book to page 179, get out your math journal, and a pencil. Now, the essential question we'll be looking at today is how can you solve problems with proportions? So let's take a look at using equivalent ratios to solve proportions will be one way, and it's important to understand what a proportion even is. You'll need to write this down in your Go Math book. It says a proportion is a statement that two ratios or rates are equivalent. So you can see here 1/3 and 1:3 and 2:6 are equivalent ratios. So 1:3 equaling 2:6 is what is called a proportion. Now let's take a look at example 1 to expand upon this concept even more. It says Sheldon and Leonard are partners in a business. Sheldon makes $2 in profits for every $5 that Leonard makes. If Leonard makes $20 profit on the first item they sell, how much profit does Sheldon make? So what we need to do is we need to write a proportion. So we can see Sheldon's profit $2, Leonard's profit $5. It's 2 to 5 is the ratio. Now we need to make a proportion. And then you know that Leonard's profit is $20 from the story problem. And what we need to figure out is Sheldon's profit is unknown. So when we think about this, we can use a common denominator to write equivalent ratios. So we know that 2 to 5 gives us a denominator of $20. And so what we did is we multiplied that $5 by 4, giving us 20. And so just like with fractions, whatever you do to the denominator, you must do to the numerator. Multiply that 2 times 4, and you can see $8, 8 to 20. So you can see the answer, if Leonard makes $20 profit, Sheldon makes $8 profit. The easy way that we figure that out is just finding a common denominator with our ratios. So let's take a look at number 1. We'll do this together. It says the members of the PTA are ordering pizza for a meeting. They plan to order 2 cheese pizzas for every 3 pepperoni pizzas they ordered. So right away, we know the ratio cheese to pepperoni, and I'll do this off on the side, and you can do this in your math journal, is 2 to 3. It says how many cheese pizzas will they order if they ordered 15 pepperoni pizzas? So we know that the ratio is 2 to 3, 2 cheese pizzas for every 3 pepperoni. So we need to figure out what do we need to do to that 3 in order to get it to a 15. We need to multiply by 5. And since we multiply one part of our ratio by 5, we must multiply the other part as well. So 3 times 5 gives us 15 now. So we can see 15 pepperoni pizzas like they said in the story problem. And then we'll see what the ratio is. We multiply 2 times 5, giving us 10. So we can see the ratio is 10 cheese pizzas for every 15 pepperoni pizzas. And we can answer the question, how many cheese pizzas will they order if they order 15 pepperoni pizzas? We could write down here, you can do this with me, 10 cheese pizzas. Now we're going to look at using unit rates to solve proportions, and it says you can also use equivalent rates to solve proportions. Finding a unit rate may help you write equivalent rates. So let's take a look at example number 2. It says the distance Ollie runs is 36 minutes, and 36 minutes is shown on the pedometer. At this rate, how far could he run in 60 minutes? So what we need to do is write a proportion, so we know that the time is 36 minutes, and the distance that he runs is 3 miles. All right, so what we need to do is we need to figure out 36 minutes, 3 miles. We know that's the rate. We need to figure out how far could he run in 60 minutes. So we know 60 minutes is already given to us. However, we don't know how far he could run. So a couple things. We cannot just multiply 36 times 2 or anything like that to get to 60. What we need to do, so since 60 is not a multiple of 36, so there's no whole number by which you can multiply 3 miles to find that missing number. So what we can do is we can find the unit rate of 36 miles or 36 minutes running 3 miles, or 3 miles in 36 minutes. And what we need to do is figure out how long does it take Ali to run just 1 mile. So knowing that we want to get that 3 miles down to 1 mile, what we do is we can divide both parts of the ratio by 3. So we have 36 divided by 3 giving me 12. 36 divided by 3 giving me 1. Now we know the unit rate is 12 minutes per 1 mile. Now that we have that unit rate, we know how long it takes Ali to run just 1 mile. We're going to use that unit rate to write an equivalent rate that compares to 60 miles to an unknown number of minutes. So we have that unit rate you can see here in our book, 12 to 1. And what we do here is we think about, what do you have to multiply 12 by to get to 60? We know we can multiply 12 by 5 to get to 60. And so since you multiply that part of your ratio to get to 60, you need to multiply the 1 mile by 5 as well. Okay, so now you can see the equivalent rate is 60 minutes running 5 miles, or 5 miles in 60 minutes. So we can see at this rate, Ali can run 5 miles in 60 minutes. So it's important to get down to that unit rate and then take a look at what information is given to you, 60, and then we figured out 12 minutes times 5 gives us 60. So then we multiply that 1 mile by 5 as well, finding again that at this rate, Ali can run 5 miles in 60 minutes. So let's all work through number 2 together. It says Miss Reynolds' sprinkler system has 9 stations that water all parts of her front and back lawn. Each station runs for an equal amount of time. If it takes 48 minutes for the first 4 stations to water, how long does it take to water all parts of her lawn? So we can see 48 minutes for the first 4 stations. All right, so let's write that down. So 48 minutes for the first 4 stations, so the ratio is 48 to 4. Now what we need to do is we need to get this down to a unit rate. So we need to figure out, we know how long it takes for 4 stations, we need to figure out how long it's going to take for just 1 station, because we know that she has a total of 9 stations. We need to get that unit rate. So in order to get the unit rate, we can divide by 4. And the reason why I'm dividing by 4, because we want to know how long it takes per station. So there's 4 stations so far, so we divide by 4. So 48 divided by 4 is 12. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So the ratio of minutes to stations is 12 minutes for every 1 station. So now that we have a unit rate, we can figure out how long it will take for 9 stations, and we have that 1 station at part of our ratio. We multiply that by 9, and then also we will multiply the minutes by 9. So 12 times 9 gives me 108 minutes. 1 times 9 gives me 9. So now we have the ratio that shows us how long it will take to water all parts of her lawn. So the answer is not 108 to 9. The answer would be 108 minutes. You can see we found that unit rate, and from that unit rate we were able to multiply both parts of our ratio to get the answer of 108 minutes. Now let's turn your books to page 181. And now we're going to be taking a look at using proportional relationships to find distance on a map. So we can see at the top, a scale is a drawing of a real object that is proportionally smaller or larger than the real object. A scale describes how the dimensions in the object compare. So a map is a scale drawing. The measurements on a map are in proportion to actual distances. If 1 inch on a map equals an actual distance of 2 miles, the scale is 1 inch equals 2 miles. You can write a scale as a rate to solve problems. So let's take a look at this example number 3. It says the distance between 2 schools on Lehigh Avenue is shown on the map. what is the actual distance between the schools. So we can see within our map the scale, first of all, that 1 inch equals 2 miles. Now the ratio 2 miles to 1 inch we have right here. We can write this as a proportion. So 2 miles to 1 inch, but we can see that the distance between schools actually is represented by 3 inches. Now we don't know how many miles that is yet. However, we do know that the 1 inch was multiplied by 3. You can see here, write an equivalent rate to find the missing number. 1 inch was multiplied by 3 to get to 3 inches. So since one part of my ratio is multiplied by 3, the other part, the 2 miles, needs to be multiplied by 3 as well. So 6 miles to 3 inches. So we can see in step 1, the missing number is 6. So the actual distance between the two schools is 6 miles. Now let's take a look at number 3 together. It says the distance between Sandville and Lewiston is shown on the map. What is the actual distance between the towns? Now we know the ratio is 20 miles to 1 inch. All right, now since we know that the ratio is 20 miles to 1 inch, we need to figure out how far it is from Sandville to Lewiston. And we know that it's 2.5 inches. So because of that, we need to multiply the 1 inch by 2.5. Then also multiply the 20 miles by 2.5 as well. So we have the ratio of 50 miles to 2.5 inches on the map. Now the answer is not 50 to 2.5. The answer would be 50 miles because that's what they're asking the distance. So we could write here 50 miles. So we're taking a look at the guided practice. It says find the unknown value in each proportion. So we have 3 to 5 is equal to what number to 30? So first of all, if we're looking at this, and I want you to do this with me on page 182. So we multiplied the one part of that ratio by 6 to get to 30. So since we multiplied one part, we have to multiply the other part of our ratio. 5 times 6 I know gives me 30. 3 times 6 gives me 18. So we can see that 3 to 5 is proportion to 18 to 30. So we can multiply, we can also divide. So 4 to 10, trying to find a proportion to that. We have 10 was divided by 2 in order to get to 5. And so since we divided the 10 by 2, we also need to divide the 4 by 2. 4 divided by 2 gives me 2 as well. So we have 2 to 5 is proportion to 4 to 10, or equivalent. So what I would like you to do is work on number 3. You can work on that in your math journal, and you can work on that now. So we see number 3 is $45. Now I'd like you to work on number 7, and you can work on that now. So you can see the answer for number 7 is 40 minutes. Now if you're missing these problems, you may want to just rewind this video and watch some of these sections over again. And now I'd like you to work on number 9, and you can work on that now. Now you can see the answer for number 9 is 24 kilometers. Now we're going to wrap up the video. The essential question check-in: how do you solve problems with proportions? Let's take a look at this together. It says write a proportion that includes one unknown quantity. Find equivalent ratios or rates to find the unknown quantity. Now this concludes the video on solving problems with proportions. If you have any questions about this concept, please come and see me.